there was an interesting study done, forget, someplace I think in Atlanta in the US, where they took a mouse and exposed the mice to the smell of cherry blossoms. So it's at least it's neutral. Mice don't get upset by that scent. And then they paired that with an electric shock. So the scent of the cherry blossom, then the electric shock, and then of course the mouse would freeze and shake and defecate from the fear, not just from the shock, but now also from just the scent of the cherry blossom. Okay, there's nothing surprising about that, because that's just simply a Pavlovian conditioned reflex. It's nothing more. And I don't know where they got the idea, whether they read something I wrote. But anyhow, they then bred those mice for 5 generations. And when the great grandchildren were exposed to the scent of cherry blossom, they would shake and tremble and defecate even stronger than their great grandparents. Mm-hmm. So I mean, then I realized, and of course, this makes complete sense. But I think it's not just trauma that gets transmitted, but a lot of survival information and also spiritual information. Mm-hmm. So, for example, I was working, there was an airplane that was flying from Denver to Chicago. And halfway there, it was a DC-10, and the rear engine exploded. There was a defect in the metal, and that severed the hydraulic line. So there was no way to control the plane. So the 2 pilots, tried to maneuver the plane by increasing the thrust in one engine, then in the other engine, something that almost impossible to do. It did land. It had a crash landing, and it broke up into pieces, and there were fires in some of the pieces. And ultimately, actually, half of the people did survive, which is amazing in itself. Anyhow, I'm working with this young woman who was in that flight. She was from Boulder. And when I start to work with her in somatic experiencing, we don't just go for the trauma. One of the things we'll do is go to when the trauma was over and the person knew that they were safe. So working with Katie, we came to the place where she was sitting in the cornfield. The sun was on her back, and she knew that she was safe. Then the work goes back to where she's now upside down in the plane. The fuselage is crushed, and she's able to just open the seatbelt and let herself down into what was the top, which was the roof, and everything's black. And she then hears these words. Her name is Katie. Katie, go to the light. Go to the light and escape. So at first she thought it was because she was a Buddhist practitioner. But it turned out when we investigated this further, that both her father and her grandfather were in airplane crashes. One was in a commercial, the other was in a military flight, both of them. And the words that came from her were the words that they used to escape. And so she saw this pinpoint of light, and she was able to move there, and there were twisted wires and everything, but she was just able to get out, and then goes back to the cornfield where she's sitting and the sun is coming from her back. You say, well, maybe they told her this story. It's possible, but why did it come at that very moment that saved her life? So in any case, you think, okay, this saved her life.